Are we talking When the Moon Hatched? Mind if I sit? This book is a god tier fantasy romance for me, and I would love to talk more about it. I am actually diving back in to do my deep dive into this my favorite world of mine as I prepare for the book 2 to come out in February, and I want to take all of you along with me. Today, yes, it's not night, it's day, I would like to start on the prologue, and I'm going to go through everything that happens in the prologue and then pick out the things that I have noticed in the prologue that might come up either later on in this book or that will come up in the future books, I believe. I do not know, but I believe. So, spoilers for all things When the Moon Hatched. If you have not read this book, please swipe away and come back when you have, because I would love to have anyone and everyone talk to me about this book. It's my favorite. We're going to start with the prologue. It's where we meet the creators, starting off with Kalis, who is the god of Aether. Aether can also be thought of as the void. It is the emptiness of the universe. It is the blank canvas, if you will. And then Boulder comes into the picture. He is the god of the ground. He creates this world, this sphere that does not turn. Our characters themselves live on this world that is shadowed on the bottom half, never receiving any light, and then the top half is extremely hot because it receives all of the light, is the closest to the sun. And then the middle band is what is called the Fade, and that is the third kingdom. There's the burn on the top, was Kingdom 1, the Fade in the middle, which is Kingdom 2, and then the shade on the bottom, which is Kingdom 3. It's hot, regular medium temperature, and then the bottom is cold, constantly snowing in winter. Very harsh climates. The world that doesn't spin, therefore, in order to count days to know when a day has started and when a day has ended, there are ribbons, aurora ribbons, that go around the world. We will talk about those later and how they got there. The second goddess that we meet is Rain, and she loves Boulder. She is trying to call for his attention. She fills all of his nooks and crannies with beautiful lakes and rivers and running water, and she is so emotional in the way that she handles his constant rejection that anyone who hears Rain often has big emotions themselves. Anytime that it is snowing or raining, her song is very, very mournful, very sorrowful, as per the love that she wishes she could receive back from Boulder. The third goddess that we see is Claude. She is the exact opposite of Rain. She is playful, she is spiteful, she is crazy. She flows around Boulder's creations as soft as a caress, or can whip as sharp as a knife. She is unreadable at most times, and she is the yin to Rain's yang. Last up is Ignos. He is the god of fire. He is in love with Claude. He is so in love with Claude that he cannot survive without her. He is greedy and desperate for her love as well, and constantly chases her and is consuming and wants more and more and more. Together, these gods have created the world that we know. One giant sphere that doesn't turn, has a really, really hot top side, a really cold bottom side, and then a middle that has a band or a wall that goes along the middle that kind of denotes the center of the world. The world is filled with creatures and fae and elementals. Those who can hear the creators are the elementals, and they can hear one or multiple of them. The ones that do learn the language of the creators, not only do they learn how to listen to the language, but they also learn how to speak it back, and they learn how to use it to control the elements that those creators wield. So think of it in a way of like learning a foreign language. You not only have to learn how to hear it and understand it, but you also have to learn how to respond it and speak it back, right? And that is how you learn to speak with the creators. Now, Kalis is a little bit different. Kalis cannot be heard himself, right? He is the god of void, of nothingness. And so in order to be heard, he himself had to come up with something a little different. And his is then the Book of Void, which is what he wrote, is the runes. And though there are those that can understand and use runes to their benefit. And that is something that, say, think of it in the way like some are apt for science, right? Or some are apt for math. The people in general are all very different. Everybody has the ability to learn rudimentary things amongst the runes, but not all have the ability to learn the true depth of runic ability. And those are the like rune masters. And so they each have something that denotes just how powerful they are with runic magic. The world is also filled with beautiful creatures of all shapes and sizes, though none more beautiful than the dragons. The dragons are the best part of the story, if you ask me. Well, that's a lie. I'm here for the romance, and so the unconditional love that Khan has my heart. But I digress. The dragons are the second best part of the story. There are 3 different types of dragons: the saber-sized, which live in the farthest north kingdom, the burn. They are large creatures with beautiful scales that come in any array of warm colors, things yellows, reds, oranges, golds. They prefer the sweltering heat of the land closest to the sun and cannot survive in the south, which is called the shade, as we know. The second dragon being the molten maws. They live in the middle, the fade. They have bodies that are covered with the widest variety of colors, which are also covered in feathers. They can travel to any kingdom, north or south, and they are your greens and your purples and your yellows and everything in between. Lastly, we have the moon plumes, and they live on the southernmost portion of the world, the shade. They are covered in leathery hides that are the colors of silvers, blues, purples, and whites, so all of the cool colors. These are the most cunning breed of dragons, and they thrive in the south in the cold, and they cannot survive in the north. So just like the saber-sized cannot survive in the south, those dragons, the moon plumes from the south, cannot survive in the north. These beasts are eternal, never dying, only choosing to calcify up in the sky when they deem it best. When they deem that their life has come to its end and they no longer want to be here, they decide to sail up to the sky and calcify as what we know as moon. They can also and have also been killed by other dragons or elementals or what have you, and if they do that, they do not get to calcify up in the sky. Sadly, they do end up staying on the ground, and then what comes from that death and the blood that they spill is actually called bloodstone, which we will revisit later as well. All was well with the world until one day a dragon fell from its perch. 8 moons total fell before they did anything about this and blamed Kalis. There was the first 7 that fell, and they all were surprises and shocks. The 8th one fell, and they decided they had to do something about it, and they decided to take it out on Kalis. There has yet to be any form of proof that this was Kalis's fault, therefore I believe he is wrongfully blamed. In order to put Kalis away, to take and to stop the moons from falling, they sang their songs all at the same time, which created a cacophony of sounds, and absolutely tore Kalis apart and ripped him to shreds and stuck him inside of a stone. This stone is called the Aether Stone. Though they were not successful in capturing all of him inside of this stone, his cloak had ripped, and bits of the ends of his cloak tethered itself to the north and south poles of the world, and that's what then rotate around the world to give the beings a sense of daybreak and day set, right? Those are called the Aurora. They deemed this stone that they placed him in, the Aether Stone, they could not contain Kalis on its own. It needed a life source to keep the spell going, that kept him contained within the stone itself. So in order to do so and to give it a life source, they gifted it. Oh, so kind. Those creators gifting this stone to a familial line of the strongest warrior of the time and saying, here, we have something glorious for you. You can hear all 4 of us creators, but you have to wear this on your brow. And then when you pass, it needs to go down your line. It will stay on your brow. There is no taking it off. You cannot take it off physically. Like, it literally will not remove from your head. And it will suck all of the life out of you. Great. Thanks for the gift. And then as soon as the last bearer has passed, it gets placed on the brow of the next one. So that stone has something to continually siphon life from. Super great. The reasoning for wearing the crown has actually been lost to time. Only myth remains. Therefore, they don't know what exactly is inside the stone. They don't know why he's inside the stone. They have been told that it's because of the moons falling, and it is his fault for the moons having fallen. But only the creators actually know what truly happened. All right, that's the whole lore from the prologue. And now we get to dive into the deeper bits, the things that stood out to me that I want to reference back on. First things first, I do believe, like I had mentioned, Kalis is innocent and wrongfully accused of causing the moons to fall. I think that this is going to be a storyline that actually spans across, believe there's supposed to be 3 books. I believe that this will span across all 3 books. The next thing that I want to mention is actually from page 1 of all things, and it is talking about Kalis. It says, his baritone song was so full of substance, yet it lacked it entirely, a lonely echo that haunted the empty space between near and distant suns, inaudible in its depth, no matter how loud he sang. And this, to me, makes me think of the other creators and how all of their songs can be heard and responded to. It makes me think of Kizari and how she's able to not only hear Kalis' song, but actually respond to it. This makes me think that his song is actually missing its harmony. So the sentence at the beginning said, his baritone song was so full of substance, yet it lacked it entirely, a lonely echo. So he simply needs the harmony to his melody. And once that happens, I think that it will actually stop all moons from falling, right? So instead of hiding him away and taking his song out entirely to stop the moons from falling, it needs to be fulfilled in full. In order to do that, he needs to find the harmony to his melody. That is something that I believe will fix all of the moons from falling. Now, I think that that's going to be the final thing. I think that's going to be what stops all of the moons from falling, though it could also be what is used to get him out of the Aether Stone. That might give him the strength to break out himself, because they say that it cannot be removed, right? Nothing that you do to it, there's no magic powerful enough to take this diadem off of the wearer's head. They've tried. It doesn't work. It's possible that having Kizari there to sing the harmony to his melody is something that actually gives him the full strength to break out, and that it's up to him to seal the moons in the sky, or it's possible that they find a different way to get him out, and that song between the 2 of them, their love story, is what holds the moons in the sky. I don't know which one I lean more towards. Part of me thinks the first one, another part of me thinks the second. So do with that what you will. It's also worth noting that when the creators sealed Kalis inside the Aether Stone, not all of him was sealed inside. So the threads of silver cloak that tore free, the aurora that rotate around the world, I think are going to give them a bit of access and a bit of ability to crack into and free him from, because he has something outside of the Aether Stone, a piece of him outside of the Aether Stone that he can call to, and that's calling to him. So I think that will come into play as well. And I'm going to jump ahead to where we learn about the dragons, specifically about the moon plumes, and it says that we learned that they are the most cunning, and they are also growing in strength, number, and brilliance. Now, with the looming war that not only the Fade is currently gearing up for, we hear that Kadek is constantly gone, and he's recruiting people for his army, right? And so the Fade is gearing up for a war, but the Burn is also gearing up for a war. Khan says multiple times, and Pirok and Grimm all mention that their army is not big enough, right? They're not strong enough yet to take on either of his brothers. So there is a war coming. I do believe that hearing that the moon plumes are growing in strength and number and brilliance, it's possible that we could have a Moon Plume Legion. I do believe that we'll see a battle for the Shade, which is where the Moon Plumes live, which is why they will come into this battle. But I could also see a battle for the Burn between Arkin, who is the Scavenger King, and Khan, because Arkin, the eldest son of Ostrin, and believes that he deserves the Burn because of that. Now, the next part is when they talk about the moons that fell before the Aether Stone. There were 8 of them. They certainly did not expect those moons to fall long after they found their lofty perch, for them to collide with the world in a clash of splintering doom that would threaten to devastate everything that had come to be. Did these moons fracture and split like Slatra did? Part of me says that because they have a common word, such as Moonshard, within the book itself, when they are talking about what Khan is searching for and what the Woto found that was in the jail cell next to Rave in the beginning of the book, that moon shards are something that have come about before. This is not Slatra's moon shards are not the very first moon shards to have happened, which makes me think that they did shatter. Now, if that is the case and they did shatter, then I wonder how powerful they could be. We never get to see this in the book. However, we are told that the Bloodstone holds magic. If you were to grind it up, this is in the glossary, and I think it was mentioned at least once in the book. I will note it when it pops up as I'm going through this deep dive, that if you grind it up and take it, it has medicinal purposes. Sarah A. Parker has even mentioned the fact that it can be used to extend one's life. Now imagine how powerful a piece of a dragon could be. Not just their blood, but the dragon itself, right? So could the shards themselves do something? Not only that, but what could an entire reassembled dragon that had broken apart do? A lot. I think it could do a lot. I think it could be very powerful. I don't know. But I know that Khan has most of Sylatra put together. And I could very well see him putting the rest of Sylatra together. And we get to find out what happens when an entire moon gets pieced back together like a puzzle. All that's to say that I do believe that the 8 moons that fell before Kalis was put into the Aether Stone actually did shatter upon impact. Unlike the 2 dragons that have fallen since Sylatra has fallen. Lastly, I want to shine a spot on the gift that the creators presented to the Nivan line, the Aether Stone itself. It's mentioned that it was a gift that allows the bearer to hear all of the creators. However, they failed to mention that though it allows the bearer to hear all 5 creators, not just the 4 most well-known creators, it wasn't a gift, but rather a curse. So they are not only going after Kalis, but they are also going after the Nivan line, family line, because they are now cursed, not gifted with power. All right, well, that was a lot to cover for only being the prologue, but it, I think, was all very important, and I promise all of the videos won't be this long, so I hope you stick around. I hope to be doing a chapter a week for sure, as I have 2 under 2, and I'm allotted like an hour a day to both record and edit all of this, so I hope you stick around. Thanks for watching. Bye!